you so much for joining me today for this webinar. It's my pleasure to be with you. Our topic today is identify and eliminate self-sabotaging patterns through the power of hypnotherapy. So I am going to be talking mainly about self-sabotage, or as we call it, passive-aggressive behavior sometimes as well. And these patterns that we have come across in ourselves, in our loved ones, we can see that around. And then how do we get to the point of working on them? There are many ways to work. There are various modalities that you can use to work. But today I'll be talking about the modality of hypnotherapy. Before we begin, just a quick introduction. I know there are some people who know me, there may be many who don't. So I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Arpita, and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I work at Illuminations JLT. Apart from hypnotherapy, I also practice other mind science modalities like regression therapy, metaphor therapy, etc. I'm also a facilitator for family constellations, and I am an active corporate behavioral trainer as well. I also teach clinical hypnotherapy. So if there are people today who are interested to know more about the course, you can always contact me or the Institute Illuminations later. And I'm from India. I've been in the UAE for more than 13 years now. My first innings in my career, as I say, is not with the sector of wellness and well-being. I studied economics, I'm an MBA, and I've worked in the corporate sector for more than 15 years, first in training, then human resources, and then into general management. And then I shifted gears. I was introduced to the science of the mind, to hypnotherapy. That was my first introduction into the line of mind sciences and well-being. And it kind of changed my life to a point where I started to study clinical hypnotherapy. And here I am today as a practicing therapist and as a facilitator and a trainer of hypnotherapy. For people who are not on Zoom, so I have a section of people who are connected to me through Zoom, and I believe this is also being streamed live on Facebook. So for people who are watching me on Facebook, if you have any questions as well, please use the comment box, leave your questions there. I may not be able to simultaneously look at both the boxes, but I would go back to it right after the webinar ends, and if there are any queries, I will be happy to comment and answer for you. So without wasting any more time, we will straight go into what I thought is the agenda for today. So keeping it very simple, we're going to do this in two parts. One part is talking about and understanding what is self-sabotage. How do you know that you are in the behavior of this cycle of self-sabotage? What kind of things cause it? Why are there some people who are not exhibiting this behavior while there are people who fall prone to this habit or this behavior? And how does the role of belief systems work in this line of work? And then second part would be talking about when we know what it is, obviously the second part is about how are we going to overcome it. And as I said, the modality that we are going to be talking about is hypnotherapy, understanding the science behind it, understanding how we can reprogram these belief systems, these thoughts in our minds that are pushing us towards self-sabotage. I will keep some time at the end for question and answers as well. As I said, you can use the chat box immediately to type in any question if you have on any slides that I'm talking about, or you could wait till the end. It is completely up to you. I'm happy to take questions at any time. So I'm just going to check if there are. I hope all of you can hear me clearly, see me clearly, as well as you can see the presentation clearly. I have a few comments, which means that you are able to see me clearly. Okay, so it will be helpful if you are interested in this topic and if you want to continue with working on yourself, or you want to help someone else. It's good to have a pen and paper near you. You can take notes. And as we go along, you may also, when I say take notes, in the sense of identify any kind of self-sabotaging behavior which you feel you encounter or you can't overcome. So coming to the main question of what is self-sabotage. So we plan very consciously, right? We make our plans, we have dreams, we have goals. All of us do. And these goals, these plans that we make for our lives, they are in various parts of our lives. It could be in the personal life, and that would be about my relationships, family, friends. It could be in my social life. It could be in my career. It could be about money. So even if you look at various aspects of our lives, it's very common that each one of us, we have achieved something and we have targets that we want to achieve. Now, we as human beings, we are intelligent beings. We are not like animals, or we are not like plants. We have a very evolved way of dealing with life. Then, with that intelligence with which we live, what is it that sometimes it doesn't allow us to achieve those goals? Now, I'm not talking of environmental difficulties. I'm not talking of external blockages. Like, for example, the situation with the pandemic is something that is external to us. None of us thought about it, but we are in the middle of a crisis and we are dealing with it. This is understood when something comes from the external perspective and we are not able to manage ourselves. That is what we call as a crisis. We could call it trauma, and that's a different, probably a discussion for a different day. But what we're looking at today is when things around us externally are quite okay, and okay to an extent where this is the world that we have created and this is the life that I've created for myself. There are times when we see that it is me who comes in my way of success or my way of attaining that harmonious relationship. And that is what we are calling as sabotaging ourselves, which means a part of me knows that this is not right for me. A part of me knows that I have to overcome this behavior. But still, when it comes to that point of taking action, we are not able to do it. As you see in the diagram here, it explains it all. It is, if you see, the man is cutting the branch where he's sitting. This is self-sabotage. So if I'm going to cut that branch, who is going to get hurt? It's only me. Do I know this? I know this. But if this is a habit, then I cannot stop it. Signs. Straight away getting into, because we have limited time, we just have an hour today. So straight away getting into, how do I know if I am exhibiting self-defeating, self-sabotaging, self-punishing behavior? And this I have put together for you today. This comes from my experience as a practicing hypnotherapist. I'm not saying that these are the only ones that are we can club as self-sabotaging behavior. If you Google, if you research, there are many more. What I have put in front of you today is the most prominent ones that I see in my line of work. And mostly people will come for that behavior change when they want to do it through hypnotherapy. These are probably the top self-sabotaging behaviors that take attention. First and foremost, procrastination. I think we all have done it at some point or the other. You know, what needs to be done today gets postponed to tomorrow. I'm going to hit the gym tomorrow. I'm going to start doing my yoga tomorrow, or I'm going to start eating healthy tomorrow. I have to finish this assignment. I know I have a deadline. I better do it today, but okay, I still have tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So procrastination is the opposite of doing it in the moment, clearing your desk. And you will notice that we procrastinate most of the times things that are more critical. If you have a list of items, say, that you need to do, say for at work or even at home, you will see that there is that one or two items that kind of take your brain space, your mind space, because that is probably more important, or it probably has the highest impact. And we end up postponing that item. And it has two effects. The first thing is, A, it gets postponed, which means you have a lot to do. Second, it kind of makes us restless, sometimes even anxious, that, oh, the big chunk is not done. Consciously and rationally, we know that this is the one I should do first thing in the morning, but I keep postponing it. So that's procrastination. That can be on a daily task basis. It could be procrastinating your own health. It could be procrastinating your own happiness. So as I am going through it, please reflect, make a note, because when we come to understanding how this comes, then it will be helpful for you to locate your own self-defeating belief systems probably that lead you to this kind of behavior. The second and a very common issue that we see, that I see, is when I feel I am not good enough, when I feel that whatever I have, I don't deserve. In other words, we call this as an imposter syndrome. So I have worked very hard. I have achieved XYZ goals that I set in a specific area of my life, but I constantly keep feeling that somebody will call my bluff and I will be exposed, and I just don't deserve this rank, this pedestal, this position. It is extremely self harming because it puts you down on a negative spiral. And I'm going to talk about the power of thoughts and our mind today. What we start to put as input in our minds actually manifests. So when we start to think about ourselves as imposters of I don't deserve this, I'm not good enough to get this, many times we will end up in a situation where we will blow up all that hard work and the position that we have worked so hard to get. Now, a very different kind of self-sabotaging behavior is also, now this, the first two of procrastination and imposter syndrome is more mental. Now I'm coming to the more physical part of it, is comfort eating or binge eating. And this has been on a rise in the last few decades. As we say, couch potatoes, it's dependent on our lifestyle. With most people that I've worked with who have this habit of comfort eating or binge eating, it mostly comes from a sense of vacuum, sometimes a void. And because I cannot place what is to be done or what I should be feeling, it's an automatic response to what should I do? I can grab something and I can eat. Again, a part of you is very conscious when you're doing it. It's not the healthiest thing to do, but as if there is a personality in you which is stronger than that part who says, no, 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 you worked very hard today, you deserve this, or I have nothing else to do, I'm bored, I don't know what to do, I'm going to pick up. There are many ramifications of this, that it affects the physical health, of course, and even very detrimental to mental health as well and self-esteem. Moving forward, addictions. When I say addictions, it could be addictions of any form. For people who have suffered or are suffering from being addicted to something, you would agree that it's almost a battle. Again, a part of you knows this is not good for you, but the urge to continue or stay bound to it is way stronger. Addiction necessarily, it does not mean only substance abuse. It could be anything that you're so habituated that you cannot get off. We see a lot of addiction to gadgets nowadays, and that spans across all age groups. It could be addiction to food, it could be addiction to sugar, it could be any form of addiction. Again, people who have been there would know and would agree that it is not a choice, but it almost becomes that, okay, I chose to have a cigarette when I was 15, and now fast forward, I'm 35, and I do not know how the cigarette has now become bigger than my life itself and has taken over. Again, a very, very prominent self-sabotaging behavior. And then going into the more serious domain, if these kind of behavior is not caught on early, is not looked into, many a times this results into self-harm or self-injury. This is like misdirected anger. Sometimes it is the anger towards your own self, or it's anger towards others, where I can make you feel bad if I am bad to myself. And it also includes self-medication. So there are varying degrees of self-sabotaging behavior. They may be mild for some, and they may be absolutely life-threatening for others as well. So take a moment, take a few seconds, and looked at if there is any behavior that falls in this spectrum. As I said, it's a broad, very, very broad spectrum. The kind of sabotaging behavior that you may identify for yourself necessarily doesn't need to be one of these, but it would be a good idea to take a few notes and pen down what are those behaviors or a single behavior that is topmost on your list that you would want to overcome through the science of mind, through using hypnosis. Now, these are only the signs and symptoms, what I discussed with you till now. These are like on the surface. So for example, if I have a rash on my hand, what I see on my hand are rashes. Now, I can put cream on it and go to sleep tonight, but it's going to come up tomorrow. And then I have to, and probably it will come up more strongly than what it is today. So just knowing the signs, just identifying the signs of self-sabotage is not enough, because just knowing it is not solution. It's part of the solution. It's important to have that awareness and to know what it is, but it's not enough. So today we are going to look at what causes self-sabotage, because this is almost anti-me. It's like I am going against myself. It is bizarre because which means there is a program that is running inside me that overrides my natural my natural instinct to be good, to be successful, to stay alive, to enjoy life. And that is, as I say, it's bizarre because we are intelligent beings and we should be able to cognitively tell ourselves that, hey, it's time out. We need to stop and we can't harm ourselves. But any of us who are in that habit would know it's very, very difficult sometimes to break it. Okay, before I go into the causes, I think I have a question here. Yes, Shamim, please go ahead. Whatever your question is, I'm going to keep the chat box open and I'll answer that.
Hi, I have a question. Now, you said
Causes self-sabotage, what we are looking at today, is in one sentence, what we can call it is dysfunctional and distorted beliefs that we have about our own selves. Either there are two words here, there is dysfunctional and there is distorted. Dysfunctional means something that doesn't serve me any purpose, and distorted means not the correct picture, right? So either of these are our like 99.99% reason why we get into this mode of self-sabotage. So what can be examples of these dysfunctional and distorted beliefs? It could be any of these. You can take a combination of the two stacks that you see here. If I am not good, then I will not be loved. If I am not smart, then I may be excluded. If I am not helpful, I may be forgotten. If I am not special, I may be doomed. You can mix and match and you can create your own ones. So this is like a precondition. So these are our very, very core beliefs. Now the difficult part in this is that most of the time these belief systems are unconscious, because consciously none of us with our cognitive abilities would believe in something as silly as this. If I'm not good, then I will not be loved is almost like a child speaking. But as adults, we could sit here today and say, wow, but none of this worked because, I know this is not true now. Correct. Consciously, and when you think as the adult of today, none of this is relevant. However, all of this and even more is relevant when we are talking of belief systems that are not available or accessible to our conscious mind. I think the chat box is buzzing, so just give me a moment. Okay, so I have a question of, after an awareness has come that I'm unconsciously creating the destructive pattern, after that, what can I do not to repeat that awareness? Yes, that is what I am getting into right now. Many a times, if many of you have worked on yourselves already, many times that belief system becomes conscious. What was unconscious to me, and I was working on that, it becomes conscious. Please wait for a few moments. If you don't get the answer to it, please come back to me. But this is exactly what our webinar is about. Then how do you change it after it becomes unconscious to you? So then we just have to know today that how are these beliefs formed? Where do they come from? They don't fall on our heads from the sky when we wake up in the morning, right? They must have been formed, developed, validated inside us, sometimes consciously, but most of the times unconsciously. And to answer this question of how the beliefs are formed, I'm going to open up to you the domain of mind sciences. So this is the science of talking about our mind. When we talk of mind, we are not talking of our physical body. We are not talking about our brain. So we are delving now and opening into you the domain of mind sciences. So as I said, I gave you a small hint saying that mind is not our brain. Because see, brain is a different word, mind is a different word, and we use this word many times. We use mind sciences, we talk about, oh, where's my mind today? Have you lost your mind? Which means we are very much familiar that we have a mind. So let's take a pause, think about it, and maybe at least if some of you can share, what do you think is mind? Where is your mind? And how do you operate your mind? With the hint that it's not brain. I will give it a moment and wait for the discussion to open. There is no right and wrong answer, so you can just try and share your thoughts that what is mind, where is your mind, and how do you operate through this mind? Any of these, any suggestions, anything to share? And of course, I'll go forward and we'll get into the details because I'm pretty sure whatever you answer, nothing is wrong in this domain. Thank you for your comments. Mind is where your attention is. Yes, partly yes. It is like where you're focusing. Is it consciousness? I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Like, what do you think is mind, and where is your mind? It's a ball of energy. Yes, I'm coming to that. Mind is our awareness. Thank you so much. Yeah, all of you are looking at mind, you see, from a different angle. None of two people that have responded here has the same answer to what is mind. Totality of our thoughts and emotions, I think it's outside the body. Okay, yeah, I'm coming to that. So yes, now see the beauty of it. If I asked you what is brain, each one of you would have a very, very clear and a similar answer. You would say brain is an organ, it's part of the central nervous system, and it's inside my skull. But when I open it up and I say what is mind, I think each one of you has given me a different answer. Mind is conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. It's cosmic energy, and not all of them are our thoughts. So see, thank you so much. I think I have a very interactive crowd today with me. Thanks for sharing all of this. As I say, each one of you has brought in an element of mind. Now, when we are talking about mind in terms of holistic sciences, let's see what this is about. Now, even if you forget holistic sciences for a while, even if you look at Oxford Dictionary, if you just Google, you'll see the definition of mind is very different from what we generally think. Even your Oxford Dictionary says it's the element of a person. So what is an element? An element is something that is intangible. So imagine I have an element, not an organ, not something that I can touch and feel, but the element in me that enables me to be aware of the world around me, my experiences. As all of you, some of you have said to think, it's about feelings, emotions. Some of you have spoken about consciousness. It talks about the faculty of consciousness, and many of you have spoken about the thought. The important thing to note here is we are talking about an intangible asset. So the best way to understand or connect this is the interface of a hardware and a software. So like the way I am connecting to you through my laptop, which has a hardware I can touch and feel. I'm clicking on the keys to move the slides, which means I'm operating and touching the hardware. But the hardware in the laptop is just not enough for me to connect to you. I am using multiple softwares here. I'm using Microsoft PowerPoint and I'm using Zoom, but I cannot touch or feel or even try to access that software. Similarly, the brain and the body is like the hardware through which we are experiencing life. What operates on the hardware is a software, and that software is what we call as the mind. So imagine it is a programmed way in which it's a program that runs on the hardware, and a combination of the mind and the body is what is keeping us alive, keeping us conscious, etc. So it's as I said, a hardware software is a good way of understanding the basics of what is mind. And mind is a tool. Mind is, it's like a tool that you can use. The $1,000,000 question is your mind available to you? You are in charge of it and you're using it? Or is it the other way around, that your mind is controlling you? And that's food for thought. You can think about it later. Going forward, we describe mind as a tool. We explain this by saying there is a hardware and there is a software, and the software is the mind. So we are going to now go away from the hardware today. We are not talking neuroscience. We are not talking about the power of the brain today. We are talking about the power of the mind. And I'm going to now divert into that software. Before that, somebody mentioned that it's a ball of energy. Yes, I think it was Sakshi. You're right. In holistic sciences, we describe mind as a vibrating ball of energy all around, located all around us. So the only thing I will add on to that definition is it is not necessarily just outside the body. It is all around the body, as if your physical body is soaked in it, like a sponge is soaked in water. So if you see, it's a very interesting definition. It says mind is a vibrating ball of energy located all around you, the center of which is at the pit of your stomach. Very interesting. Why? What is at the pit of your stomach? What organ do you find at the pit of your stomach? If you look at human anatomy, you will find the small intestines there. And another word for small intestine is the gut. And that is the reason we have this phrase that we use so predominantly, that I have a gut feeling about this person, or I have a gut feeling about this deal at work. I have a gut feeling that it's going to rain tonight. My and your gut is only part of the gastrointestinal system. It doesn't feel technically, right? It shouldn't. It is only supposed to be digesting the food that we eat. And yet we say this many a times. Why do we do that? Because we believe that the epicenter of that vibrating ball of energy, what we call as mind, the epicenter of that is situated at the gut. There are many schools of thought who also say that this connection between the software of the mind and the hardware of the body happens at the gut, happens sometimes in the heart, and it happens, of course, at the brain. So these are your, probably from different schools, different touch points through which the software is working into the hardware. Okay, there is again a buzz on the chat box. Mind drives our action. Not solar plexus, Sakshi, it is at the intestine. Maybe some other time I can talk about how we connect the chakras to the mind as well. But for today, just imagine it is at the intestine, and that's where we talk about gut feeling. Also, you would notice that whenever we have certain kind of emotions, we feel it in the stomach. You know, we say that there are butterflies in my stomach, but if you cut open a stomach, there are no butterflies or larva or pupa for that matter. What we feel is because of, and you can connect it to this this definition of it. Yes, and the gut is very powerful. It has its own intelligence as well. Intuition, yes, sometimes people say it's not exactly the same as intuition, but yeah, you can map it. Sometimes you can, like broadly speaking, yes. If I have time, I will elaborate on this part later if I have time. If not, some other time, or you can write to me. But coming back and sticking to the model. So now let's look in details. Now I'm going to focus. I'm leaving the body, I'm leaving the brain and the gut and the heart aside. And I'm going to talk to you now about the science of the mind and what is this ball of energy, what we just described as mind. Now, it's actually simple in a way that most of us will understand and know this, that we have two parts to our mind. We very openly talk about it, right? We know there's a conscious part of our minds and there's a subconscious side to it. So, how does this work? This image, imagine, is like an iceberg. When you see an iceberg in the ocean, what do you see? You only see the top part of it, and scientifically speaking, you're only looking at 1/10 of the entire volume of that iceberg. This diagram is exactly similar to that. The conscious mind that you see here, sorry, is only around 10 to 12% of the entire volume of the mind. This is a very generous estimate. Most schools believe that it is less than 5%. But even if we go by 10%, it means that there is a bigger part of our minds which is subconscious. Sub means below, below the level of our consciousness. What do we do with this now? As you see, these are your functions of the conscious mind. So right now you and I are using our conscious mind to connect, to share our thoughts, to think. As you see, we think, we are using our logic right now. This makes sense, that doesn't make sense. We are analyzing the information that is coming through, and what we are talking about may also induce certain feelings in some of you. We are also deciding internally and we are judging. All these cognitive functions that you see we are doing is the function of our conscious mind, which in a nutshell means that we actually use only 10% of our mind's capability to live our lives, because these are the functions that we use every day in every aspect of our life. And guess what? We are doing pretty good with it. So just imagine if we knew the art and the science of scratching into the depths of our subconscious mind, how much it could impact our lives. And that brings me to the question that if everything that we are doing, thinking, analyzing, judging, acting, is all in our conscious mind, then why do we have subconscious? And what does this subconscious part do? Now, unlike the conscious mind, which has so many functions, and the conscious mind is like the CPU of your computer. It's like the central processing unit. There is constant data intake, giving out. It's in a process of churn. Compared to that, subconscious mind is completely different, and it doesn't have 10,000 things to do. Subconscious mind, to the contrary, has only two very simple functions. First is survival. It keeps you and me alive. How? Subconscious mind is the part of the mind that controls our internal organ and body functions. This is very important to understand. If I ask you that please switch on your videos and all of you can raise your right hand and wave at me, each one of you can do that, because you can move certain parts of your body with your thought. Like, I think of moving my hand and I can do it very easily. Then if we are so powerful as human beings, if I can control the movement of my hand, I should also be able to control the rate at which my liver is functioning at the given moment. Can I do that? I can't. Can I control the rate at which my kidney is functioning? I can't. And that is because that part of my body's functioning is not governed by the conscious mind. It is governed by the subconscious mind. Hence, when you go to sleep at night, your conscious mind is also not there, it sleeps. Then we don't tell our minds that, okay, I'm going to sleep now. Heart, you have to keep beating. Lungs, you have to keep breathing. We don't do that. It's almost like our bodies actually work in autopilot. We are half of the time not even conscious of what is happening inside our bodies. And that is because it is governed by the subconscious mind. It keeps us alive. And the second function that the subconscious mind has is storage. So if the conscious mind is like the central processing unit of your computer, your subconscious mind is like the hard drive of your computer. And what does a hard drive do? Hard drive saves files. And this is what your subconscious mind does. Your subconscious mind is the database, is the repository of all the experiences that you have gone through in your life, starting from your mother's womb till this present moment. So imagine zillions of filed, marked, and archived. And that is it. This is the only two functions. If you go into more details, you will see, and now we are coming closer to the topic of why we are discussing this with respect to self-sabotage. Why does self-sabotage happen? Because consciously, I know this is not right for me, but subconsciously, there may be files there may be programs, there may be blocks, there may be patterns that push me to work against my own good. Why this happens is because if the strength of the conscious mind is 1x, the strength of the subconscious mind is 6,000 times x. So no matter how hard I try to be on a path, if that path is not in alignment with my subconscious patterns, no way on earth is it possible for me to follow that path. Mind science, especially hypnotherapy, is the science of understanding this to begin with. Somebody had a question on awareness. So this is the awareness part. Now, to make things more interesting, the subconscious also has two parts. One part is the what we call as modern memory. This is my memory from the time that I have been in my mother's womb to this moment. So this all belongs to me. These are memories from that has originated, that has been filed from my experiences. Now, there's also a different kind of memory or files that we call as primitive memory. This is what we, how do we explain this? This is your genetic memory. This is your DNA. This is evolutionary memory. You can call it even your ancestral memory. So these are the experiences and these are the patterns, these are blocks, these are imprints that I carry in myself, which are not only mine. It's not exclusively mine. It actually belongs to someone else across generations, across the ancestral lineage. A very nice way of understanding this is when I look at myself in the mirror, I look at my nose and I say my nose is exactly like my great-grandfather. Wow, not difficult to understand, not difficult to digest, because guess what? It is genetics. So I look like my great-grandfather in some ways. Now, in the same way, if there has been procrastination, if there has been addiction, if there has been imprints of self-harm that has come to me through evolution, then it is equally relevant to know that this can be imprinted in us, and there could be many triggering events around us that can trigger and activate that file. So look at it from the aspect, again, coming back to the software, hardware, and computer example, that your hard drive has files or a single file that is corrupted. By corrupted, I mean something has gone wrong. And that's what happens when you have a corrupted file in your system. Every time you want to start it on, it crashes. So every time I want to go to the gym and exercise, I don't. Every time I want to stop procrastinating, I can't. Every time I binge eat while watching Netflix, I can't. Because these files that are triggering in your subconscious comes from a space that is 6,000 times stronger than your conscious mind. And with that, I will come to the teeny mini last part of the understanding of the mind, because now with this correlation of the conscious and the subconscious and the memories, the experiences and the imprints that we carry in our subconscious, what happens is, so subconscious mind is there even when we are in your mother's womb. Conscious mind starts to develop once we are born. Interesting stuff happens between the age of 0 to 8, and that is very important for today's discussion, because that is what we call as formation of belief systems. So between the ages of 0 to 8, what we start to develop is what we call as a filter, a critical mind or a critical filter, which means as the child as starts to grow up, or when we were children, when we were growing up in this age, imagine the mind developed a filter. It's like a strainer. When you make tea at home, how you boil the tea leaves and then you strain it, this critical mind is what we call as the strainer for your subconscious storage, or a strainer which will allow certain things to come in and some certain things to be thrown out. In a very simple way, when we talk of critical mind, the other word you can use is your belief systems. Between the ages 0 to 8, this is the time when we start to form our belief systems. And that is the reason you will see in every part of the world, every religion and every culture, we say that be very careful when you talk to children and what you tell them. Why? Because children are like sponges. They will take in verbatim what you say. So if you tell a child you're beautiful, child believes without any filters, because their filter is not yet developed. They believe that, oh, I'm beautiful. And if you tell a child, oh, you're stupid, child says, oh, I'm stupid, not even understanding what that word means. And this is the start of formation of belief systems. Not all belief systems are bad, but the ones there could be belief systems which are embedded now in your subconscious mind that could be dysfunctional, or that could be distorted. And that is where the core many times of self-sabotaging behavior comes from, that core of the basic things that you believe about yourself. So if I have a belief system that I am not good enough, I will manifest people in my life who will make me feel that way. I will manifest situations that will make me feel that way. And I will indulge in self-sabotaging behavior that is harming my own self, because I believe I'm not good enough. I do not deserve love. I do not deserve happiness. I am stupid, I am an impostor. These are all examples. Going back to the slide of, remember, if I don't do this, then I become that. These are all examples of our belief systems. Now, how are they formed? They are formed based on 4 factors. As you see on the screen, it's called the SEER. Number 1 is the social structure in which a child is brought up, the family, the community at large. E is for education, the kind of education child receives or doesn't receive. The second E is for economic, the economic status, the financial status of the family, community, country, religion, wherever they are. And sorry, fourth one is the religion, the religious beliefs with which child is brought up. All of this put together is your belief systems. And if you want to make it simpler, it is your conditioning. Now, each one of us have our own set of belief systems. Some of them may be conscious and some of them may be unconscious, subconscious. So take a moment. Now go back to what you wrote down or what you thought about your own self-sabotaging behavior pattern, and try and link and see if there is anything that you can consciously connect. Sometimes you can also consciously connect. If you don't find a conscious connect, I'm now going to move on to explaining how the science of hypnotherapy helps us in doing this, in understanding our belief systems, our experiences that may also impact our belief systems, and finally, how it drives us to self-sabotage and how we can cure it. I will just check because I've said a lot. There's a lot of information. If there are any questions. I'm just going to look at the chat for a moment and come back. Oh, I believe there is no. Okay. Any questions? Feel free to put it in the chat box. I will come back and I will answer it. So how do we overcome self-sabotage? Today we are going to look at a modality called hypnotherapy. And we're going to use that modality for you to understand and see if this is something that you think that can work for you. Alternatively, if this is a science that you would want to learn for yourself. So going back to that diagram of the files in our subconscious, which result in experiences, imprints, blocks, or belief systems, we are looking at, now what would you do if you have a corrupted file? You would reprogram that, you would rewire the file. So you would go into your hard drive, you're going to bring that file onto your desktop and you're going to make it okay. So that's what you do for your work purpose when you're working on your laptop. What do we do for the mind? What we do for the mind is we say we reprogram those files. And there are basic ways how we do it. So the basic premise of this reprogramming is that we are not here to delete files. We are not here to create false experiences or false memories. We never erase an experience. What we do is we neutralize it. When we talk of neutralizing, imagine those files. The files have two parts. There are facts that are associated with those files, which means XYZ happened to me when I was 3 years old or da-di-da. And the second part that the files carry is a charge. And that is what we neutralize. Those experiences from our past that has caused belief systems also carry certain imbalances or charge. All we do in mind sciences, in hypnotherapy, is to discharge it, as if you're earthing, how we earth our electrical gadgets at home, in the same way. How do we do this? We detach ourselves first from our experience. So my experience may be that I was bullied at school and that made me feel I'm not good enough. This got linked there. See, there is now an association. So every time somebody opposes me or I don't like their behavior, it reinforces my belief system, I'm not good enough. And I go back home and I indulge in binge eating. So the first step is to detach that I am me and that was my experience. I am not equal to that experience. Once we are able to detach that, we can release the toxicity that I am carrying. This toxicity is that charge that I am carrying that still affects me today. How do we do that? Let's get into the understanding of hypnosis or the science of hypnotherapy. Now, as a therapist, I get asked this question so many times because I believe there's a lot of misconception about this science. And people believe that this is mind control or I can snap my fingers and somebody will fall asleep. None of that happens. In reality, this is a clinical modality in which we work with people to solve issues that they are struggling with. Hypnosis, that word comes from a Greek word called hypnos, which if you translate into English, it means nervous sleep. Now, if you look at it, the phrase nervous sleep is paradoxical, right? You cannot be nervous when you're sleeping and you can't sleep when you're nervous. So this means, if you translate it and if I can explain that, hypnosis is a state, it's an altered state of awareness in which our physical bodies are so relaxed as if the body is sleeping, but the mind is super active, hyperactive. So that is the nervous part of it. Hypnosis is nothing new. It's actually a natural phenomenon that we experience every single day. When you go to sleep at night, the few moments before you are fully sleeping and you're awake is hypnotic trance. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, your alarm goes on, you put it off and you kind of slowly wake up. The time between when you are totally awake and asleep is hypnotic trance. If you're watching television for more than 3 minutes, you're in trance. If you're watching Netflix, you are in trance. So trance is a very natural state that we can always drop into. What we do in hypnotherapy is we create that trance in a clinical setup. And why do we create that trance is because in that trance, in that state of mind, we are able to go through the conscious mind. So conscious mind becomes, it's there, it's not gone anywhere, it's still aware, but the conscious mind is not in control. In trance, the subconscious mind takes over. So we are able to break through the critical filter, remember the one in between our belief systems, and we are able to access, take a deep dive into our subconscious and locate those files that are, for example, causing self sabotage. Hypnotherapy is used for multiple reasons, but I'm just going to limit myself today talking about self sabotage. So it is the process, it is a technique to go take a deep dive, pick up those files from your hard drive, cut and paste them on your desktop to your awareness, and then we rewire them, which is we neutralize them. We neutralize the charge that is being carried. This is just a very simple slide for you to understand the difference between these three states. So when we are awake, you see the conscious and the subconscious, both parts of our mind are awake and both are in control. If you notice in the slide, the subconscious mind is always awake and always in control. Why? Because it keeps us alive. So if subconscious is not in control and not awake, we are not alive. So from the time that we are in our mother's womb till our last breath, the conscious subconscious is always awake and in control. The only difference that happens is the state of our conscious mind. When we are awake right now, conscious mind is also awake and is in control. When we go to sleep at night, conscious mind is not present there. We are in sleep mode and there is no control that is exercised by the conscious mind. Now, what is hypnosis? The beauty is the conscious mind is still awake. So when you are in a session or when you're in trance, the same thing when you go for meditation, the conscious mind is still awake, and if there is an emergency, you can get up and move out, but your conscious mind is not in control. It is not kind of guiding your actions there. And that is the trance in which we can take a deep dive, we can work on our behavior patterns that are not serving purpose today. It is important to mention here that not all belief systems are bad. So this is not a science to erase all belief systems. There are beautiful belief systems that we have embedded in us that work beautifully for us. Second, when we are talking of belief systems, there could be belief systems that would have helped you and me in the past, but it is not serving any value today. So hypnosis is that science in which we rewire those belief systems. So from I am not good enough, I become I am worthy. When that changes, the triggers that were around me that triggered me to exhibit a self-sabotaging behavior goes away. So that is how we use this science to take a dive, to clear those patterns, to clear those blocks away and live a life that we truly desire. That is the alignment. So hypnotherapy is a way to align our conscious desires to our subconscious patterns. Now, if our conscious desires and our subconscious patterns are aligned, then it's wonderful. Then that means we are not in the habit of sabotaging our own happiness. But many a times we see a misalignment and we cannot understand, because logically you'll never find an answer why you do not go to the gym or why you binge eat or why you're addicted to your gadgets. It's only when you take a sneak peek into your subconscious zone, into that domain, is where all the answers to your logical questions which make no sense to you, those illogical situations, the answers lies in the depth of our subconscious mind. So I'm going to take a pause. That is what I had for you today in terms of explaining the two concepts of self-sabotage and how you can heal it through hypnotherapy. If there are any questions, you can ask me. I am going to check the chat box. Thank you. Yes. Can you again say what is the seer? Yes, of course. See, seer is the four factors that influence the development of our belief systems between the ages of 0 to 8. The first S is social or socio, which means as a child, the society, the family, the community that I have been brought up in. The E is economic, which means the financial situation in which I've been brought up. The second E is education. So, what kind of education I have received or I haven't received. And the R is the religious beliefs. These are your four parameters that make you build your belief systems, and that gets embedded. For people who are interested to know more about it, you could Google on YouTube. You have beautiful videos by Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he talks about this mind being a software that is programmed in the first 8 years of our life, and for the next whatever number of years we live, we actually are only running that program. I hope that answers your question. The seer. I have another question. Is meditation have something in common with hypnotherapy? Are they related? Yes. It is very similar because you are diving into the zone of the subconscious, but there is also a difference. Uh, Say for example, you are say you're in front of a swimming pool, and from the sides of the pool, if you jump into the water, that is like meditation. So what happens when you jump from the sides? You fall into the water and you go slowly, you go inside. Now imagine if you are going to be climbing up a diving board and you're going to dive into the swimming pool. What's the difference? You're going to go deeper and faster, and that is hypnosis. In terms of how you feel, it is quite similar. The induction processes that we use for hypnotherapy sometimes are very similar to guided meditation as well. So yes, the difference is in meditation, probably you are visualizing, you are calming yourself, you're healing. In hypnotherapy, you are firstly like a detective. You're going in there as Sherlock Holmes, diving into your subconscious to figure out what causes this problem for me. And then you're going to be working on it. So it is three, four steps ahead. It's therapy, it is inner work, it is healing those parts of you that are causing behaviors that are actually hurting you. Let me know if that answers or you want more clarification. So, an answer to my question about after getting an awareness, we can do hypnotherapy and change the pattern. Yes, Shamim, absolutely. In the session, you get the awareness, but you also get tools and techniques to rewire those files, to change the pattern. And if you ask me personally, when I work with clients, I would not only depend on the session, because the session is beautiful, you do the healing there, but you also carry home certain exercises to do that support your healing. Why? Because your conscious actions are also equally important for you to change that behavior. So yeah, you got it right. It does answer your question about you can do hypnotherapy. There are many tools, there are many techniques we use. Hypnotherapy is a very broad science that will heal those patterns, that will heal those blocks. Does hypnotherapy help to resolve phobias and fears? Oh, yes, all the time. Very interesting question, because you're talking about two things, Sakshi. You're talking about phobias and fears. Yes, hypnotherapy is extremely well known, and it's very famous for fears and phobias. Now, let me give you a sneak peek into it. Fears would, as you saw in our chart, fears are what we describe as experiences that we remember. So, for example, if I was bitten by a dog when I was 3 years old and I'm scared of dogs, is a fear. So, yes, hypnotherapy. So, imagine I have a file inside my subconscious, and every time in my environment I see a dog coming towards me, it triggers. So, that file triggers in the zone of that 6,000 times stronger zone, and I start to palpitate and I start to hyperventilate. My palms are sweating, because I operate from that zone. So yes, hypnotherapy is used all the time. More interestingly, it is also used for phobias. Now the difference is, for phobias, we don't know where it has started. So many times people say, I have a fear of water, I have a fear of height, but nothing bad has ever happened to me, but I do not know why I keep having these fears. So yes, hypnotherapy is one of the safest and one of the most efficient modalities to deal with fears and phobias. When we dive in the subconscious, can we remember something when we are back? Very good question. Thank you, Mehdi, for asking this. Yes, you do. Hypnosis doesn't mean that you sleep. It doesn't mean that you go to La La Land. You will remember your session. You don't get lost somewhere. You don't forget. In most of the sessions, you will remember exactly verbatim what has happened, because as a therapist, I'm also talking to you. Having said that, there are certain times when there can be partial amnesia during the session, but it's rare. It happens in certain cases. But if your question is, will you remember your session? Yes, you will. 100%, because you need to remember it, because your conscious mind also needs to accept it, and your conscious mind also needs to act according to the outcome of the session, so that you get your behavior changed. But you don't sleep, you don't go to La La Land, you don't lose your memory. Most of the times you're pretty much there in trance, but you will remember everything. Is a combination of hypnotherapy with breath work better than doing hypnotherapy? Combination of any modality with breath work is good. It's not related, but breath work is okay. Let me explain this. The bridge between the conscious and the unconscious can be done through breathing. So the answer to your question is yes, it is very good to do breath work if you are undergoing hypnotherapy, because that state of trance, that state of centeredness will come very, very easily. But it doesn't mean that if somebody hasn't done breath work, that hypnotherapy will not be effective. It is effective with or without breath work. Personally, again, as a therapist, I would give recordings of certain parts of the session, and I would give recordings of breath work, because it is a beautiful way for many other things to get resolved as well. But it's not a mandate that you have to do breath work in order for hypnotherapy to work. You can just do pure simple hypnotherapy without breath work as well. But I personally am a fan of breath work, so it really helps. Thanks, Valentina. Sakshi, thank you. Thank you. Shamim, techniques like writing, can we use write and tear? Yes, Shamim, writing, journal writing is a part of it, but that's again a very conscious way of doing it. When you start consciously, writing is actually a subconscious function. Not typing, writing. So yes, it could be, depends on what comes up in the session. So the exercises that I would advise my people that I work with to do would depend on what comes in a session. Writing is very powerful. It could be creative visualization. It could be listening to the tapes, the recordings that I would give. It could be many things. There are a variety of exercises that support your healing between the sessions, including interpretation and working with dreams, etc. It's a beautiful science. It's a beautiful way of healing. How can information from subconscious get to our conscious? That is what we do in the session, right? So when you're in trance, you're able to retrieve memories, not only for your own self. You could retrieve your prenatal memories, you could retrieve memories of ancestors. There is no limit. There is just no limit to where you can go. And when that information, you become aware of it, that was what Shamim was talking about, the first level of awareness. You do that in the trance state. Consciously, we may not be able to access it, but subconsciously, definitely you can access it. Also, can we speak and record our voices and rewind the new behavior we want to affirm? Yes, Shamim, it works beautifully. You can also record your voice, your affirmations, and listen to them. It works as well. Thank you, Arpita. Well explained. Thank you, Sakshi. I'm glad you enjoyed. Mehdi, can I do self-hypnotism? I have difficulty to remember things. Hypnotism can help me. Can you do hypnotherapy online? Okay, Mehdi, one by one. Can I do self hypnosis? Yes, you can. That is the first thing we teach, even as a teacher of clinical hypnotherapy. In level one, we teach self hypnosis. It's a beautiful process. It's a extremely powerful manifestation process. So yes, if you have difficulty in remembering things, you could be using self hypnosis to heal it 100%. It can help. Can you do hypnotherapy online? Yes, you can do hypnotherapy online. I have been doing sessions even before the COVID or the lockdown, and it works absolutely perfectly fine. We do it in a little different way, but it works online. I work with clients all around the world, so I can vouch for it, and I can tell you it works as beautifully as it works on site. Okay, thank you. And I think that is all the questions that I had. If there are more, I'm happy to be here for a few more minutes and answer them. Thank you. Very profound and insightful short teaching. I recommend book Becoming So Supernatural from Joe Dispenza. Yes, yes, it is it's very beautiful. Joe Dispenza has a lot of material online as well. So yes, please feel free to tap into that. Thank you for reminding me about the book, Valentina. You can also look at The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Excellent book to talk about how you can change your patterns, your behaviors. He says, I was speaking German when fluently when I was a child, and later on I forgot at all. Can I remember? And how long does it time it takes with hypnotherapy? Yes, I do not know. I cannot say how much time, Mehdi, it takes. It's a case-to-case basis. For sometimes, we have miraculous sessions, and in one sessions we get result just in a single session. And sometimes it takes a little longer. It depends on what is the core issue. If you're talking of memory issues, I have worked very recently with clients with memory issues. 2 to 3 sessions was good enough. I didn't see the client after that, so and I got a feedback that things were fine. So, but I cannot say that it has to be 2 sessions or 3 sessions or 5 sessions. We do free consultations, so if you're interested, the best thing to do is to book a free consultation, talk with your therapist, and that will give you more information rather than me saying it here. But if I talk to you on a one-on-one basis, I would be able to give you a better estimate. But having said that, there is no hard and fast rule, or there is no rule that says you have to do X number of sessions. Sometimes it just happens magically. Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a problem. Can I say? Of course you can say. Thank you. Can this control my mild hypertension if it is because of anxiety? Yes, Rahim. With hypnosis, we just don't work on mental or emotional issues. In fact, there's a line of work under hypnosis which is called organ regeneration, and we work on the physical body as well. Hypertension as a result of anxiety, 100% you can work on it. I can't or don't stay persistent if I start a business. Why is this a problem? This looks like it's like procrastination, or it's like you cannot stay put. Yeah, it is a self-sabotaging behavior. Why this problem? That I cannot answer now, Shamim. For that, we need to have a deeper look at it, because the same thing, the same problem can come from various areas. But I cannot assume and tell you this is the reason why. We would need to have a deeper discussion about it. How to reduce stress and anxiety? I take stress a lot. Yeah, yeah. So it's all It's stress is what, anxiety is what. Something from the environment triggers it, and then the subconscious. Because see, the subconscious mind, Fatima, is where you have your fight and flight instinct. So when you talk of anxiety and stress, it triggers your fight and flight response, which means it's triggering files there. So you can look at hypnotherapy if you feel stressed or anxiety is a pattern. You can keep shooting questions. I'm happy to answer it. I have also on this slide, I've got the details of my contact details. I work exclusively at Illuminations. You can contact Illuminations as well. And just 2 weeks from now, we even have a course of clinical hypnotherapy. I'm starting the level 1. And if any of you are intrigued with this science, you're most welcome to join me for the course. If you need more details, you can get in touch with Illuminations or you can get in touch with me. We'll be happy to assist. It is a beautiful science, and I have people from all around the world and all kind of professions joining this for many reasons. It's a very, very powerful self-healing technique as well. Fatima, you're interested? I will share the details of the course. I will ask Illuminations to email you. How many levels are there? There are 5 levels. And if you like, I could send you the details. Camelia, Fatima, you could also book in a free consult if you want to talk to me about the course in details. I can spend some time with you individually and explain all the details about the program. Rahim, do you mean the course? It's on the 4th and 5th of December. We keep doing the courses, but the last one for the year is on the 4th and 5th. Illuminations, Pia, can you take a note of the chat so that tomorrow these people, whoever is interested, they can either book a consult with me or we can send them all the material that they need about the course. Mehdi as well. Aditi. Aditi says, wait 1 second, I've lost your chat. Aditi says, I've been through a session, but I'm not convinced that I've been able to overcome the issues. Depends, Aditi, case to case, and sometimes one session may not be enough, follow-up may be required. And again, if you want to have a detailed discussion, we can talk about it, but from the perspective of a therapist, I would say it is extremely effective. That's what made me change my line of work from being in the corporate work into this. Mehdi is also interested. Camelia interested. What are the fees, Rahim? I will have all the information sent to you. I'm going to make a note of the chat as well, and the fees are different for each level, so they will send you a complete schedule. Okay. Thank you so much for being with me here today. I think we are at the end of our webinar now. Thank you so much for, you will get all the details. Don't worry, we've made a note and we'll send it to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Aarti, it can help me overcome timings, reaching on time. Yeah, of course. These are all self-sabotaging behaviors. It can definitely. Thank you so much. It was a complete pleasure to have you today. Thanks for being with me, and stay in touch and have a lovely evening.